Welcome to the Springs in the Desert podcast. We're those friends that you can take with you wherever you are on the path of infertility.
Hello and welcome to the Springs in the Desert podcast. This is Cassandra. I'm your host for today's episode. We are here to celebrate the birthday of Springs in the Desert. And so there is no better way to do that than by having a nice little chat on a podcast episode with our founding mamas. I'm here today with Ann. How's it going?
Going great.
And we have Kimberly today. So good to see you.
Yes, I'm so happy to be back. It's been too long.
I know, too long. Well, we're here to talk all about Springs in the Desert. And how many years is this?
This is our 6th year. I can't believe it.
6 years. And what a 6 years it has been. Okay.
Yeah.
So our birthday was yesterday. And so just quickly, we've told the story of the ministry many times, but why don't you guys just tell it again, and the story of founding Springs in the Desert and how that was for you guys. And then we're going to talk all about all the rest of the other stuff.
Okay, so I was thinking about this, and you know how when you go to a concert, it's like your favorite band, and you're like, play the hits, right?
Yeah.
The things that you love, that you've heard again and again. But sometimes your favorite band plays the deep cuts, the stuff that not everybody knows. And so I was thinking about that. I wanted to start with the deep cut, and that was going to a conference at the JP2 Institute, where Kimberly and I are both graduates, and meeting one of my classmates there, Claire Kane, who our listeners and our friends in the ministry know as one of our contributors, a very frequent podcast guest. And we were at this conference, and there was a talk that was, we thought, going to be about like pastoral accompaniment and solutions for infertility. And so we were both really excited. But when we listened, it was really all about ART, assisted reproductive technology, IVF, why you shouldn't do them, why doing things like NAPRO and restorative reproductive medicine is really better, which is all very true and necessary and important. But that pastoral piece really was missing. And I remember Claire was sitting like a row behind me and off to my right. And when the Q&A time came, she and I both raised up our hands, like furiously raising our hands to ask a question. And we weren't picked for a question. And so we talked after that and just talked about how she in her marriage and Keith and I in our marriage were going through infertility. And everything was about do these things, but nothing really about like the pain and the emotions that we were going through. And so it wasn't too long after that, I then met Kimberly at a different conference, and we sat together at the dinner table, and she started telling me a little bit of her story. And Kimberly, I'll let you take it from there. Now we're back to the hits. The deep cut is done. We're back to the hits.
Free bird. Bring it on.
Free bird! Yes, so we're at the conference at Notre Dame, and Ann and I sat next to each other for dinner that night, and I just started asking her how things were going. Since we had graduated, we hadn't really talked, and I guess I probably started sharing my own story that my husband and I had been married at that point for, I don't know, I think maybe 4 years, and we just had not gotten pregnant. And so I just shared that right away. I just said, it's been really hard, especially graduating from the JP2 Institute for Studies on Marriage and Family. Mm-hmm. Everybody who graduates from there is, okay, we're ready for babies. Or they become a priest or a religious sister. But we were ready to like get in and have children. And so it was very upsetting and discouraging. And so I just started sharing that with Ann.
So then obviously I shared with her. I hadn't shared before with another woman who was going through this and who actually understood the things that I was going through and the emotions that I was sharing. And so that kicked off a series of conversations. I was talking with Claire at the same time. I think there might have been a couple of times where we did like a conference call. But at that time, Claire was not in a place to well, certainly not to start a ministry. Of course, neither were Kimberly and I. Like that wasn't even in our thought. But Kimberly and I continued the conversations, and we kept saying somebody ought to do something. The church ought to do something. And little did we know that we would be the ones to be called to start doing something.
Someone should do something.
Someone should do something. And so then, of course, Kimberly was asked to write an article for Humanum, the JP2's online journal. She asked me to write it with her. We did. Before we sent it in, she said, we should really have a website to put with this article. I'm like, what are we going to put on it? She's, we'll figure it out. It's typical. We'll figure it out. And so we did. And then she and I wrote a couple blogs. I don't even think I want to go back and read them. When I look at where the blog is now and just all the amazing contributors, at that time it was just her and I. And basically, the content was, I think, what we were working through ourselves and the kind of accompaniment, although I don't think we would have even called it that at that point. We were just trying to figure out how to deal with this particular cross. And then over time, people just came, they commented on the blog posts, and it went from there. And it's just amazing how it was basically two friends commiserating with each other and trying to help each other, and how it grew into this ministry. It's just beyond belief, the grace that God has worked through us.
Yeah, so I just want to highlight two things just from what you said. And one is that I think sometimes as Catholics, it's really as an additional, and I don't know what it's like to carry the cross of infertility and not be Catholic, but we have such a beautiful and rich theology and understanding of the human person and the bonds of marriage and what the child and what it is, the gift of a child, and what it means to come together with your husband and have a child. And so given all that understanding, then it's like when that gift is not given, it's almost like we have a more full understanding of it, of exactly what it is, and it makes it richer. I think it makes it harder in a way, but also an ability to see God more deeply through the cross of infertility. So I think coming at this with the education you both received at the JP2 is really like a bulwark. I can't even say that word. Bulwark underneath like everything we do in this ministry. And the other thing I just want to highlight is that you two formed this ministry out of friendship. And that is something that still really defines this ministry today. It's really just been a labor of love just for 6 years now. The friendships that have formed among the team, and that's really what has kept us together and kept it going as the ministry has snowballed from your, well, I guess we should have a website to put with this Humanum article. Now I'm just going to list what God has done. Today, Springs in the Desert offers 2 podcasts. So if you only listen to this one, you should go and find our other one, which is the Springs in the Desert blogcast.
I think we invented that. Did we invent that?
I know. I looked after and I realized that we thought we were so smart.
Yeah, we did. You can't win them all.
Can't win them all. So the Springs in the Desert blogcast, available exclusively on Spotify. A blog, as you said, the original blog still stands, but with an ever-growing cast of contributors. Small groups expanding across the country and the world. Do we still have our New Zealand group going?
We do.
In-person diocesan retreats. We have our virtual Lenten series that I think has been also going for 5 years now since COVID. Friends, again, from around the world. And just expanding our resource offerings for clergy members and healthcare providers, NFT practitioners, and for you, our listeners and community members. So God has done a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And we have also been working really hard. As Ann always says, when is the busy season over? When is it not the busy season? And I think we should probably also start talking about Lent soon, but that's a side note.
I know. It's not, the summer is still going, and we do have to talk about Lent.
Yeah.
But we digress.
We digress. So, do you have a favorite resource offering of Springs in the Desert? And which of these would you have most liked to take advantage of when you were in the thick of dealing with your infertility grief?
So for me, I think I love all the offerings that we have and just how we've been able to expand into so many different directions, particularly the resources that we're now able to offer to clergy, to NFP practitioners, providers, instructors, and so on, diocesan offices. But I think anything we offer that facilitates a personal connection to me is, I think, so amazing. And again, something I think we could not have imagined when we first started with a website. And then eventually we did a couple of virtual retreats. The fact that we have our virtual prayer group on Wednesdays, which will be starting up again later in September. We have our Lenten series, which is live and virtual, our in-person retreats and small groups. These opportunities for people who so often feel like they're alone. They feel like Kimberly and I did way back when there was nobody. It seemed like there was nobody who understood what we were going through or who we could really share with in a real and honest way. And so I think these offerings that we have to facilitate not just connection and community, but real friendship, that to me is just so amazing. I'm so thankful for that opportunity.
Yeah, I also forgot about our weekly well prayer email because we have, I would say, a strong charism of intercessory prayer in this ministry. And then we have our monthly email newsletter, which is like an encouraging little love note from us that hits your inbox. So speaking of love, Kimberly, what is your favorite resource?
Well, no, I'm so happy to see how the resources have continued to expand. But something that I hear frequently from people who are not even Christian even is how the podcast has impacted them. And that is something that I always tell people is a really easy thing to offer to somebody when they hear that they're struggling with infertility, to say, oh, I'm so sorry that you're going through that. And I will keep you in my prayers. And there is this beautiful podcast that might help you, that you might enjoy. And to be able to offer that, I think that I've been impressed. I've met so many different people all over the country that have said to me things like, wow, this has been better than therapy for us. This has been something that I've been able to share episodes with my husband, and we've listened to them together, and it's really helped us understand how we grieve differently and how we help him understand my grief by hearing another woman express the exact same emotions I'm experiencing, instead of him thinking, wow, I don't know why my wife can't get over this or something like that. That just the shared experiences of so many women and men coming together and sharing their hearts. I think that was something that when Ann and I first started talking together, it was amazing how similar the different issues we were having, how many, just the struggles of baby showers and listening to good friends' pregnancy announcements and just feeling like, where do I fit in? And who is my friend group at church? And we don't have children to connect with other families who have children. And so just all of those kind of issues that somebody who is not struggling really probably has no concept that's even an issue. So just to have a place to listen to the stories of other people who are having those same experiences, I think really helps you to feel like you're not alone.
Yeah, I think the podcast is really special. And when we were able to take it, it used to be bi-weekly, I think, or maybe it was monthly. Maybe we didn't know what it was.
Or maybe it was like, oh, you know what? We haven't done an episode in a while. Like maybe we should do one. That's how it started.
Yeah, but now we can offer something to our community every week, and it's just really I think special to be able to dive in. Not only so we recognize too, and have recognized for a long time that different people, like people who are in different places on the path of infertility, need different kinds of accompaniment. I'm just realizing that I'm struggling. I really don't want to go to this baby shower. Please help me. I don't know why it hurt so bad when my friend who got married after me just sent me a pregnancy announcement, and we just haven't gotten pregnant yet, and it's really bothering me, and I don't know why. Down the road till I am having a fertility ending surgery, like I am in menopause. I think I'm reaching a place of acceptance, actually. This is starting to feel more comfortable for me, but what does that mean? Is that okay? Does it feel right? What am I supposed to do in my marriage now? We've been talking a lot about your marriage has a mission. And whether you are just starting out on the path of infertility, or you're in the thick of treatments, or you're maybe coming to a different place, maybe you have come to a place also where you didn't need the kind of accompaniment Springs to the Desert offers for a while, and now you're back. We recognize that people come in and out. We just ask that you share this ministry when you come across people on your own journey who might be struggling. It's like, this really helped me. Like, I know how you feel, and this really helped me when I was also in the thick of it. So yeah. Praise God.
Praise God. And just to pick up on that really quickly, is something that I think distinguishes us from other ministries. There's a lot of great ministries. And since we were founded, more ministries that are popping up to help accompany those carrying this cross, which is so beautiful and needed. But we are that place where you can step off of that treadmill of treatment, and we will meet you wherever you are on that path. So it's not okay if you are having that fertility ending surgery or you've come to acceptance. Those are the only people. We want to be here throughout, because I know for Kimberly and I, when we were each going through treatments, it was hard. I think if we would have had other women or other couples to look to and to talk with while we were going through it, wouldn't have made it all easy. But I think it probably would have helped our mindset and our attitude and even our spiritual lives to be able to hear from other people who are also going through it. Because you begin to feel like, gosh, what's wrong with me? You know, why can't I just power through this? Or why am I having a hard time praying? And so that accompaniment wherever you are on this path, I think is so important and is something really beautiful about Springs in the Desert.
I think that I may have even made different decisions had I had a community like this, because I think it's very tempting to feel like, okay, I'm going to do everything I can possibly do to get pregnant. We're going to follow what the church teaches in this area, but I'm going to do, actually, maybe I'm supposed to do all that I can possibly do. And I wasn't as focused on taking care of my marriage, on taking care of my mental well-being, taking care of my spiritual well-being. It became something's broken and I need to fix it. And if I had this community, or even just had the podcast to listen to, I would have heard other people say, you know what? We didn't do all the things, and we're okay with that. It's okay. It's okay to say, we've tried this for a year or 2 years and we're just going to stop. We're just going to stop. That's okay. There is no moral imperative to do all that I can possibly do to potentially get pregnant. And it would help me too to feel like, actually, maybe it would help me to feel like I was doing something by just listening to the podcast, that I was actually doing something to care for other parts of myself, rather than just, am I saying the right prayers? Am I eating the right diet? Am I taking the right supplements? Am I having the right surgeries? Am I all those things? But to say, you know what, we're going to do something different right now. We're going to just stop the treadmill, and we're just going to take care of nurturing our marriage right now in this season. We're going to just maybe explore other paths of fruitfulness right now. Let's see where else God might be calling us, because God has not abandoned us. He's in this with us, and he's going to show us the way. It's not like he's withholding this beautiful gift from us to torture us. It's like he's he's withholding this gift, but he has another gift to give us. And so can I begin to open myself up to the other gift that he may have for us?
Yeah.
And I think having this community would have helped me, I think, maybe transition a little more quickly.
Yeah. I just think it's so important when the catechism talks about, and we were pondering this wording the other day or the other week or whatever it was earlier in this busy season of the ministry, that the catechism, and I forget the exact wording, but I think it's when the couples like exhaust legitimate medical options. And just thinking, we're talking about the treadmill, and obviously St. Paul talks about like having run the race and everything. And it's a big deal for me if I like run 20 minutes and it's like, I ran a mile, I did it. And other people are out there. It takes different levels for us to get exhausted. So just to that the Holy Spirit cover these couples with his inspiration and their discernment. But also, we just want to recognize too that some people out there have gotten pregnant. Thanks be to God. And they also can continue to listen, because we understand also that the pain of infertility and the trauma of infertility doesn't magically go away when God does give us the gift of a child. So speaking of the gift of a child, Kimberly is also very busy working in our sister ministry, Springs of Love. Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about that and what you guys are up to these days?
Yeah, so we started Springs of Love really to help Catholics to discern and live out the call to foster and adopt. And this was the path that my husband and I ended up taking. We really felt God calling us after much time. We were discerning it for a little while and going down the path of trying to adopt, and all the doors were closing. And so the last door open was fostering. And that seemed very scary after just going through infertility to even go down that path. But we prayed and just trusted God was leading us in that direction and that he would guide our steps and protect our hearts. So we started fostering and ended up being able to adopt our the first placement we had. And then we adopted twin girls that were just a little bit younger, actually just like 5 months younger than our son.
Oh.
We had 3 babies all of a sudden, and it was very busy season. And then when the 3 of them were 4 years old, we fostered another baby, and we were able to adopt him as well. And I know that is not a typical story. A lot of families who foster end up returning children to their birth family. But we ended up learning in the course of it about the beauty of really being able to support a birth family, because the goal of foster care is to reunify that child with their birth family. So we shouldn't really look at fostering necessarily as like the path to adoption, because I feel like our hearts need to be prepared to support the goal, which is to reunify that child if it is safe and healthy for the child. Mm-hmm. And so it is a different mindset shift. You're thinking, okay, there are children out there who need a mother and a father right now. And that we just felt like, okay, we can be that mother and father. And we don't know how long God is going to allow us to be the mother and father of this child, but we're just going to trust, that this is what he's calling us to, and that we're going to love this child and attach and bond with this child and give that child the attachment that they need, right? They need a mother and a father who are caring for them. And then if they end up going back to birth family, we can there are a lot of families who will continue to have an ongoing relationship with that child. If you have fostered a good relationship with the birth family, a lot of times you can continue to have a relationship. Now, that doesn't always happen. And sometimes they don't want anything to do with you. And so your heart is broken wide open, right? To lose a child. But for many families that I've met, they'll take a little bit of time to grieve, and then they'll go back into it and they'll foster again. And many times, if you continue fostering, oftentimes you will have an opportunity to adopt, because there are so many children in care, and it's just not always possible for the families to be able to do the work necessary to get their children back. Sometimes it's just not going to ever be a safe situation. And so we just wanted to educate all Catholics, really, not just those struggling with infertility, but all Catholics, about the need to get involved. And it doesn't always look like fostering. Not everybody is called to foster. It is hard, but you can support a foster family. And that's another path of fruitfulness. I'm meeting couples who will do respite. They'll meet a foster family and say, hey, you know what? We'll take your kids once a month, or maybe for once a week, you can go on a date, things like that. And so they can come alongside and be respite providers. So they're not actually full-time taking care of a child, but they're there to help the family. And so that's a beautiful path of fruitfulness, to be able to offer that to a family. So anyway, Springs of Love, we've just been able to grow in many different directions. We have a video series that's on Formed and EWTN to really tell stories, because a lot of people don't really understand fostering or adoption. So we have stories of families with their experiences. And we also have a discernment series, Be Not Afraid, to help. And it's really just a video series of families kind of sharing their stories and various aspects of fostering and adopting. And then the next aspect of what we're doing is really trying to walk with these families and support them. So we're starting Springs of Love chapters in parishes all over the country. And that has been surprising and amazing. And we're doing foster care awareness events in parishes, and then starting small groups in parishes to be able to really walk with families who are fostering and adopting, as well as those who are discerning. So we have a new curriculum out called Building Belonging that is just getting ready to pilot in a few areas. And we hope that this will be just a way for people to learn about fostering and adopting through the lens of our Catholic faith. Because again, there's no training really that is Catholic. And so we've been working on that and creating that and providing these resources, because again, if you have a community of support walking with you when you are fostering, it's so much easier, right? Because you have other people who know what you're going through. Mm-hmm. And so even if you can't start this in your parish, we're doing it online as well.
Great.
So
yeah.
Lots of things happening.
I love that, one, it's not just for Catholics who are struggling with infertility. People struggling with infertility are not the only people who are called to adopt, one, but also what you're saying about respite care. What a beautiful thing to then help the foster parents care for their marriage, because we know that fostering is not easy. So that's so great. So as we wrap up this episode, ladies, we can either sing happy birthday, which I don't know how that's going to work out, or maybe you can each just leave our listeners with one thing as we celebrate 6 years of Springs in the Desert.
Well, I would say that if you are walking on this path of infertility and perhaps even loss is a part of your story, that you are not alone. This community is here for you. Your marriage is good. Your marriage is fruitful right now in so many different ways. And I think the fact that Springs of Love is our sister ministry just shows that there are so many different paths for fruitfulness. And you just pray and surrender to the Lord and ask Him to help you to see what path of fruitfulness He's leading you on. And there are many paths, and they'll change over the course of your marriage. So it's something, we're talking about your marriage having a mission. It's something to constantly take to prayer and reevaluate. Where is God calling us to share the beauty and the gifts of our marriage? And then finally, just to know that your marriage is an incredible witness. It's a witness to the church and to the whole world.
Yes, that is beautiful. And yeah, you said it all. But I would say that just to really know that God is with you very closely in this trial, and He's not forgotten you at all, but He's actually closer to you than He's ever been. And so when we go through these trials like this, to know that He is there, press into Him, keep your eyes focused on Christ, and know that He loves you and He has not forgotten you. Because I know it can feel like, well, we did everything right, or I'm being punished for screwing up, or He is just upset with me and He's so far from me and He's just not giving me the one thing that I want. He is with you and He loves you and He has good for you. He wants good for you. He has a beautiful plan. And so to just press in, read St. Faustina. That's what I do. So Christina, I read her. I've got Divine Mercy Jesus and hang it in my bedroom. Call out to Jesus and know that he is with you. Let this be a time of real growing in intimacy with Christ and also intimacy with your spouse. Don't waste the time. Don't waste it just thinking we're just on hold. We're in a holding pattern, but actually press in and say, this is a time I have more time to pray. I have more time to spend with my husband, and just focus on those things.
Yep. No better note to end on. God loves you, and so do we. We'll see you next time.
Thank you so much for joining us for this Springs in the Desert podcast episode. We would be so grateful if you took a minute to rate and review us so that we can reach more listeners. Don't forget to check out our social media pages on Facebook and Instagram, and go to our website, springsinthedesert.org, where you can sign up for our newsletter and community prayer list, read our blog, and register for virtual and in-person events. Most importantly, remember that God loves you so much, and so do we.